Uncharted: The Lost Legacy was originally released all the way back in 2017, nearly a year and a half after the release of Uncharted 4. With how satisfying the ending of Uncharted 4 was, I felt that there was absolutely no reason to release any more content for this series, and because of that, I felt The Lost Legacy was nothing more than a cheap cash grab from Naughty Dog to piggyback off of the Uncharted name while creating an entry that focused on two characters I really had no interest in, and therefore I avoided this game for many years. But with the release of the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves bundle for PlayStation 5, and since I had nothing else to play until the release of Horizon 2 Forbidden West, I thought that I would give Lost Legacy a try to pass the time. Now having completed Lost Legacy, I can openly say that I was quite wrong to judge this game without playing it first, and I was really surprised with how much I ended up enjoying this game during my livestream playthrough on Twitch, and I admit that this was something that I should have played years ago. Now, the main plot for Uncharted: The Lost Legacy takes place 2 years after the events of Uncharted 4: Thieves End, and takes place in India, and focuses on Chloe Fraser enlisting the ex-mercenary Nadine Ross in order to recover an ancient tusk and prevent a warlord from getting his hands on it. Together, Chloe and Nadine explore multiple different temples while learning more about the history of the tusk, and during this time actually start to learn things about each other. Now, I'm not a fan at all of Naughty Dog when it comes to their practice of pushing some kind of social agenda in their stories, but when they're just focusing on wanting to create a good focused story based around an adventure, then they are still one of the best studios out there. This entry to me not only proved that should the franchise continue, it can certainly be done without needing to involve Nathan Drake in any significant role, but it allowed me to learn more about the backstory on Chloe and Nadine. Up to this point, I really didn't have a high opinion on Chloe and Nadine, seeing Chloe as nothing more than another female to play opposite to Elena in a somewhat mini love triangle in Uncharted 2, and seeing Nadine as a one-dimensional mercenary with no personality in Uncharted 4, that could have been replaced by any character. But The Lost Legacy, despite its shortened length, managed to do more for these characters than any of their appearances did in any of the full Uncharted games ever did. Without getting into too many spoilers, you actually find out that Chloe has a personal stake in finding the tusk, as it was the very artifact that her father died searching for. And for Nadine, after the events of A Thief's End, her life as a mercenary didn't quite turn as she was hoping for, which led her down a different path that she wasn't expecting. During the second half of this entry, there was a surprise appearance from a character that I wasn't expecting to see, but without question, the weakest part of Lost Legacy's story is its main antagonist, whose name I can't even remember, and because he was so forgettable, and at times downright crazy, and throughout many points throughout the story was just flat out stupid. And we're talking about like the worst James Bond villain levels of stupidity here, the point where I stopped taking him seriously. Now, I know the Uncharted series has had a history of their antagonists making questionable decisions, but this guy is without question the worst one in the entire franchise, and the only negative aspect of Lost Legacy's plot. When it comes to its gameplay, having played this for the first time on hard difficulty, it can be completed in just under 6 hours, and just like all the other full-length Uncharted games, is divided between exploration and combat. The exploration style is taken directly from Uncharted 4. There is plenty of walking, climbing, swinging with the use of the grappling hook, swimming underwater, using a jeep to drive from one temple to another, and having a number of puzzles to be completed that I personally found to be quite creative. There are also multiple bonus treasures that you can collect, and several times throughout the game you will actually have Chloe pause for a moment to take some pretty nice pictures of all the wonderful sights that she sees. You will even get a chance to take a ride on an elephant, which was a fun moment to experience. When it comes to combat, that too is taken directly from Uncharted 4, which puts it on par with the best quality of combat gameplay in the entire franchise. The way that some of these areas are mapped out can actually allow you to apply an effective amount of stealth, and should you get spotted, you have many opportunities to lose your opponents. But if you don't want to take the stealth route and go head to head, that works just fine. There are plenty of covered places all over that are destructible, which will force you to have to move from one location to another, and the gunplay is as sharp as ever. I was also quite impressed with the performance of the enemy AI. I'm not sure if it was because I was playing this game on hard difficulty, but the enemy can actually climb and maneuver themselves around the area pretty well, and their tactics were actually pretty good, while having a few guys pin me down with gunfire in one spot, or using grenades and RPGs to force me in one direction, only to have one guy flank me and take me out with a couple of shots, and I did happen to die a fair amount of times. I was also glad that I didn't have to babysit Nadine as an AI partner, and that she is perfectly capable of not only helping me when I needed it, but holding her own. I just wish that she was smart enough to pick up different weapons and not just use a pistol the entire game, when even the box art shows her holding an assault rifle. The only gameplay style that I wasn't a fan of were these cinematic hand-to-hand fight sequences that I didn't even like in Uncharted 4, and I still don't like them now. When it comes to game design, since I played this updated version on PlayStation 5, it goes without saying that Lost Legacy looks and plays incredibly well. I have to give also extra credit to the sound design department, as the gunfire and explosions in this game sound better here than in any other Uncharted game that I've played up to this point, and the music adds to the total atmosphere that this game is trying to present. Overall, I'm quite impressed with the level of quality that Naughty Dog was able to place in such a short entry, but I'm glad that I finally get a chance to play it. In conclusion, if you're someone like me who felt for one reason or another you had really no interest in actually playing The Lost Legacy, then this is definitely something that I would recommend you actually go out of your way to actually play if you are a fan of the Uncharted series. Now, whether or not you choose to actually play it, or if, the Legacy Thieves Collection, or manage to purchase the game on PlayStation 4 to play it, either way is really up to you. I don't think you have to play it on PlayStation 5. I think had I played this on PlayStation 4, my experience would have been the same. But the only things that I think that kind of hold this game back is that I'm impressed that Naughty Dog was able to do so much with so little, and I think it's impressive they were able to tell the type of story that they ended up doing. But a lot of the key things that you experience in this game were done better in older games. I mean, the strength, the game is really at its strongest, I would say, is when it manages to try to do something that allows it to stand out. But combat scenarios, enemy variety, smart AI, locations, puzzles, you've all seen that in other Uncharted games, and you've actually seen it done better. And there's just very, very little that the Lost Legacy actually does that allows it to stand apart on its own strengths. I mean, to be quite honest, I'm very happy that we actually got a very good story that actually focuses on Chloe and Nadine to learn more about their backstory, but I think you would have had the same sort of impact if, let's say, this game had focused on, say, Sully and Sam going on an adventure. I think you would have probably had as much of an impact, if maybe a little bit more, because of how important Sully has been to the franchise and how important Sam is when it comes to at least Uncharted 4. He was definitely a much more significant character and had more to do in, say, Uncharted 4 than, say, something like Nadine. I am impressed with what Naughty Dog was actually able to do, again, with so little. It's a very quality experience, and it's something that I am happy that I got to play. I'm just not sure that it's something I feel like I would want to play a second time because of its length. Now, again, that's not a major flaw. It's just something to, at least acknowledge. I would say if I was adding this in some sort of ranking list, I think the only Uncharted game that I would place this over is probably Uncharted Golden Abyss on the PlayStation Vita. But that's it. I certainly could not rank this game above any of these full-length games. Now, if I had to give Uncharted The Lost Legacy a rating, the highest that I probably could give it is maybe an 8. If you haven't had a chance to pick it up, do so if you can. If you're interested in getting the Legacy of Thieves Collection, do that as well. I think anyone who hasn't played it up to this point, which would be crazy as for who hasn't played the Uncharted series up to this point, would be kind of surprising. But yeah, if you haven't had a chance to play this, play it now. It's definitely worth your time, and I think you're going to have a fun time playing it and experiencing a different side of the Uncharted franchise and possibilities of where the franchise can actually go without Nathan Drake. So that is my review for Uncharted The Lost Legacy. If you did happen to enjoy this review, please be sure to comment and make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Keep track of me on my future videos and reviews that I will be uploading for the rest of the year. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.